Hi everyone, Mark here at MKS Simple Gamer, and welcome back to the demo version of MineMogul. This is episode 5. Quick update, as you can see on screen, the demo itself has been updated and you can now have several games to save, whereas before there was just the one save slot. This is episode 5 and follows on from the first 4 episodes, which showed you my first playthrough of this demo game. At the end of episode 4, I did suggest that I would actually do a second playthrough to bring my knowledge and experience from my first game and see if I could do a better job of organising the belts and machinery and procedures down in the mine, and that I have done. But this video is not a full run through of my second game. While I was playing the second game, I came across a few experiences that I would like to share with you, so hints and tips on the game, and also 1 or 2 quirks, things the designers, the developers need to look at with regard to the game itself. And I thought I would highlight those for you. So I hope this will be an interesting video for you. Let's go gaming. Let's take a look at the belts and machines and the way I set them up for this second playthrough. The belt system I've set up is based around the fact there is very limited space down this mine, and so I've set up a single production line for iron. So iron ore is fed through this filter and goes through the crusher and then over to the blast furnace, which then produces the iron ingots. The iron ingots are then split left and right here. On the right it goes over to go through the polisher and then into the deposit. Going left, it goes through the rolling mill to produce the iron plates, which then go through the polisher and into the deposit. In a similar way, the supply of iron ore comes through on its own belt system. Down there is a sorter, so gemstones are pushed onto the belt next to this one, and then the gold ore comes through here, through a crusher into the blast furnace, which produces the gold ingots. They then travel over here and end up going through into the deposit. Just here, it used to split, there was a T-junction here to send the gold ingots, half of them to the left to go directly to the deposit, and the other half to go through that rolling mill to produce the iron plates, which then went on to go through the polisher and into the deposit. I stopped the production because I was producing gold plates much faster than gold ingots, so I cut off the supply to the roller and just concentrated on producing the iron ingots. Now the quest doesn't ask for polished items in this final quest. The reason these polishing machines are here is because obviously earlier in the game I did need them. The quests in the early part of the game, there are 1 or 2 which say polished gold ingots, iron ingots, polished iron and gold plates, and polished gems. But this final quest just simply consists of ingots, plates and gemstones, just in quantity. The gold ore, as you can see, is coming in on its own belt system as well. The coal is filtered out from both the iron ore belts and gold ore belts to make sure I meet the requirements of this final quest and not contaminate the supplies of iron and gold. As you can see here in this area, having to add more auto miners to increase the production. There is 5 in that niche, and then down here there's some more down there. And for gold, the gold is supplied from this area of the mine. There's 1 auto miner over there, and this sort of filters out the gold ore and shunts the gemstones down that other belt. There are several more auto miners. There's one there. And then down this end of the mine, there's one there. So, all designed to produce more resource to go onto the belt system, where the ore is separated from the iron and golds are separated from the coal and the gemstones, and then they go into the production, which is to go through a crusher and through a blast furnace to produce ingots, and then half the ingots are sent in one direction to go through a rolling mill and produce plates. So that is the setup here, and it did work. I got through the production of those thousands of plates and ingots and the hundreds of gemstones much more quickly than in the first run through. And if we go back here, this sorter. This is where you have to be careful when putting the belts together and the sorters. So, tips in that sense. Going through this crusher, when you look at the space that is available, you can obviously see that production lines like this, which is feeding ore into a crusher, then into a blast furnace, through a T-junction to half of it to go to a roller to create plate. If you tried to do that as 2 separate lines, you could try, but that would mean a second line like this one. There would be 2 lines for the iron ore and 2 lines for the gold ore, and there's not really enough space. So I did them as single lines for the production. Hints and tips in terms of actual producing the goods at the end of the day. Here, as you can see, crushed iron ore. Feeding into that crusher all those belts with all that iron ore, I then discovered that it was too much for this blast furnace. As you can see, it's collecting at the top, and the machine can't cope with the amount of material being thrown at it. The downside of this is that all those crushed iron pieces gather at the top, and some of them fall off and fall down, and they can fall down onto any belts that you have to one side of the blast furnace. So I ended up cutting off some of the production in order to reduce that quantity coming through here. Otherwise, I overloaded the blast furnace. Another other tip is to do with the sorters. As you can see, iron ore and coal ore are coming through here, but also crushed iron ore and crushed coal ore. Now, if you allow any coal to go through with the iron, it'll go through the blast furnace, but you will produce contaminated iron, and you end up with contaminated iron ingots being made. So this filter is through use of this clump of coal ore, that filters out the coal to go down its own separate belt system and into the deposit. As you can see here, if you don't eliminate the coal, let me just move this out of the way, then I can grab one of those. This is the contaminated iron ore. Okay, we've got a blockage here, and in all likelihood that's because a piece of contaminated iron has got into it. There you go. Contaminated iron ingots block the rolling mill. So I'm going to have to remove these. Let's grab all of them, just chuck them out of the way. See if we can get everything out of the way. And once you've cleared the block, then the iron ingots will go through. The way to prevent this happening, because what I didn't realise is that this sorter treats a clump of coal ore like that as a separate item from, and let me grab it. Oh, if I can get to it, let's move this lump of coal ore out of the way. There we go, and then grab that. That, which is crushed coal ore, the sorter considers that to be a different item from the big clump of iron ore. So when you're setting up your sorters, you must remember when you're sorting coal out through the filter, is to remember to put in a lump of coal ore and a piece of crushed coal ore, and that way it prevents the coal getting into your production line and ending up doing this, which is creating contaminated iron ingots. The same would be true if the iron ore is contaminating the iron ingots that go through the rolling mills. No, that is the rolling mill, isn't it? Sorry. Now, another hint is to do with this T-junction here. Now, in theory, the T-junction will send half of the iron ingots to the left and half to the right. But as you can see from here, they all have a bias to go to the right. Now, I believe that's to do with the fact that the ingots are being fed into the system from a curved piece of belt. And as this iron ingot comes through the belt, it is pushed towards the left of the straight piece of belt, and therefore hits the T-junction breaker with a natural bias to go to the left. So this is something you're going to have to watch out for. I think the T-junction would be better served with 2, if not 3 straight belts feeding into it. On this setup that I had, it would have taken too much to redesign it to include 3 straight pieces before hitting the T-junction. So I just simply, in order to balance out and get more iron ingots going to the deposit, I simply manually moved them using the ore magnet. So that is one thing to watch out for as well. Something else to watch out for, let me just move this out of the way. Oops, I've got the helmet. Let me pick that back up and put it on the desk. On the desk there. And close that drawer. Right. It's to do with the buying of products. So if we actually go to the shop, and if we go to the machines, and if I buy 2 auto miners, 2 ore analyzers, 2 ore crushers, 2 blast furnaces, 2 polishing machines and 2 rolling mills, purchase those. And then if we go to the lift, there you go, they've tumbled down, but one of them's got stuck up there. In fact, 2 of them are stuck. So let me just collect the ones where I can. So F key to take them. And there, I was able to reach that, and then the other one fell down. But it is possible, so if we repeat this process, so again, 2 of each of those machines, in fact, let's take a 3rd auto miner as well, buy them and go back. And there you go, they are stuck in the mineshaft. For some reason, the game does not send lift back to the top of the shaft for your purchases, your goods, to be placed on the lift, and then the lift to be sent back down to the bottom here. Instead, they're just thrown down the shaft. And let me just collect those out of the way, and when you look up, if you are fortunate, they are close enough for you to use the ore magnet, and you can pull on them using that. This one's not moving, but the other 2, 3, if I position to pull on those as well, there we go, they come loose and probably fall on your head. So release those, gather those up, and then that final one falls down there and you can collect it. So that is quite a quirk there. You can have your goods stuck in your mine shaft, lift shaft. Watch out for that, but at least you know there is one way is using the ore magnet, and the other, which I showed when I first came across this problem in the first game run through in an earlier video. You can use these wooden scaffolding, and you can place one in the lift, jump up on it, and hopefully that will put you close enough so that you can use the ore magnet to pull the goods through to drop to the bottom of the lift shaft. Quite a quirk, or at least it can be solved. The next quirk is to do with, there are startup items. When you start your game, you start with a helmet and a lamp on the desk, and further into the mine you've also got a mine cart on rails, and further down you've also got a steel container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the helmet, and I'm going to move the lamp, and I'm going to drag them into the lift shaft and drop them in there. We will come back to those in a moment or two. Now if we go further down into the mine, if I can remember which way it is I have to go, and it's down this way. So if you go down here, as you can see, there is a minecart sat there. This appears at the start of the game. And what I did early on in the game is to actually move that out of the way. So let me just get rid of that iron ore. Let's grab that and pull it out of the way so it can go backwards, I think. Come on, out of the way. What I did was I pushed it all the way down there so that I could build a straight belt system going all the way back down there. So let me reproduce that. Right, get that piece of iron ore out of the way. and remove these straight belts. And final couple of pieces. If I can get them in place. There we go, curves there. Right. Oops. Alright, put one in the wrong place. Remove that. Now let's go find that metal container. And down here in this section is this metal container. And early on in the game what I did was to take this and drag it back to the start area of the mine, where the desk and computer are nearer to the deposit. And what I did was, as I went along, I collected emerald gems and diamond gems, and I stored them in this container. And then when I was designing the rest of the belt setups, and I had a sorter that needed gemstones, I had a source back at the desk. I just went to this container, plucked out an emerald gem and a diamond gem, back to the sorter, popped them in, and I'd got the sorter arranged. Right, what I'll do is I will leave that container over there, and now I can show you what happens. Because what I discovered was, if you save your game and exit, or go back to the main menu, whichever you choose, and then go back into the game, here we go. There we go, the container has moved. It's back in its starting position. So for some reason the game resets certain items to be in certain positions. That one is the steel container's position. Now if we go back along here and go down, follow the belt and jump over that, here we go. That minecart has been put back in its original position, and it's in the middle of my belt. So any iron ore being sent down this belt will butt up against the minecart, and the flow of iron ore is stopped. Alright, let's take the belts down. So what you have to do is go around that minecart, leave it where it is for the moment, build your belt system around it, and that way it won't end up blocking your iron production. Just go around and put the curved pieces in, and there we go. So that's a quirk to watch out for. And then going back, if I can remember which way to go, over here and head back to the office, which is not in that direction. Here we go. And as you can see, the helmet is back in its original starting place. Actually, I'm surprised the lamp hasn't gone back to its starting place. I thought it did, but obviously I'm wrong. So the lamp actually stays wherever you put it. Useful item to sit on the table because it provides light in this area at the beginning of the game. And there we go. Those are the tips, hints and quirks, and I hope they're useful. The game itself, I have thoroughly enjoyed this game, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of a full game to see what the developers add to the game. There have been hints already, And the first of those, let's go back to where that steel container was. In this part of the mine, as you can see, this miner says possible resources: copper is not available in the demo, we'll produce iron instead. So copper ore looks like it's going to be a thing in the full game. So again, you will need to place auto miners to get the copper ore, and presumably you'll have to have a belt system to take it through the production of going through a crusher and then through a blast furnace to make ingots, and then some of the ingots presumably to be made into plates. The other developments here, if you remember from the start of the game, the passageway down there was blocked and it was surrounded, the rocks were surrounded by dynamite, and you used this device to blow up those rocks and it opened up the tunnel for you. So explosives could be a possibility in the full game. Also, hidden underneath that belt, of course, and then just coming out here is the minecart on rails. So maybe the developers are going to develop a system whereby you can have rails, a rail system with minecarts that collect ore from your auto miners and then transport them, presumably quicker than the belt systems can, to a machine, to your other machines, crushers, smelters, etc. So that's a possibility. The machines might have to be slightly different ones, because by the looks of these, they drop onto belts which are lower down than the height of a minecart. So it would be a new machine. What else could they introduce? The introduction of the explosives means you could open up tunnels, blocked tunnels, but what about new tunnels? Could it be they would introduce a machine that would drill holes through the rock? So you'd come along, say for example here, and set the drill to go, create a tunnel of your own to go and find other resources. You never know what the designers, the developers might come up with. So that's it for this video and for the demo version of MineMogul. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want more videos, hit the subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. And as I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed this game. Hope you will enjoy it as well if you decide to play it. And I'm looking forward to the challenge in the future from the full game. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching and keep on gaming.